Hello again. Welcome to storm season in Australia. So this was our first really good storm for the year and I managed to capture it during a live stream. Now, people that are new to the channel, it's something that I'm really trying to push, and especially now with all the AI garbage that's starting to appear in social media, it's hard to tell what's real anymore. There's a couple of really nice AI photos out there that look real. Now, I am going 100% in with live streams, okay? So if you want to see things for real and see it actually happen in real time, hear real emotions, see my mistakes, see when I make a mistake. There's no editing. There's no going out, filming, cutting out all the bits that I don't want to keep, and just showing you all the good photos. You're going to see everything. This video, I'm not going to cover camera settings. I'm just going to cover the editing side of it. If you want to see camera settings, join a live stream, okay? Things change, and this happened on this night. At one stage, I had my ISO bumped up to 400, and then the lightning got closer, and as the lightning got closer, it got brighter and brighter, so I had to bump my ISO down. So they're things you're going to see in a live stream, rather than a pre-recorded video where I can sort of set everything up, cut out the bits that I don't want, leave in the bits that I do want. You're going to see it live. If I make a mistake, you'll see it live. If I capture some epic images, you're going to see it live, and you're going to see my reaction when I capture some of these images, okay? It was very exciting for me, and I'm sure the people in there watching it were, wondering why I was being a lunatic and standing out in the middle of a lightning storm. But that's live streams. We've got to go and get the shot, okay? We can't just sort of wait for the perfect conditions. We've got to get out there in this sort of thing to get that shot, okay? So anyway, enough talking. Let's get on with the edit. Hopefully you do like it. If you do like it, give it a thumbs up, but more importantly, subscribe. If you want to see me out in the field live, taking photos, unfiltered a lot of the times, and no editing, okay? I'm not going to just show you my best photos. I'm going to show you everything when I'm live. So hit that subscribe button. I usually give a couple of hours notice before I go live. Anyway, let's get on with the edit, and hopefully you like it, okay? There's a few tips in here that will definitely help with your stormy, cloudy type conditions. Okay, so here's the image that we're going to work with, and I'm just going to show you some very simple and effective ways of bringing out detail in our clouds. Okay, so this will relate to any sort of stormy photos where you really want to enhance that detail in your sky. There's a couple of things that we can do. So what I'm going to do is do pretty much a full workflow on this one, and I'm going to start with my profile. I'm just going to change that to Adobe Landscape, and then we're going to work on our color balance. Now, when it comes to lightning strikes, I do like my blue tones. So I like to just cool everything down without going too far. Just sort of bring it down until it has a slight tint of blue in it. Take out a little bit of that purple. White balance can change your image drastically. So for example, you might want to have a nice yellow tone. Okay, you might want to go up to red. So just by changing our white balance, we can change the look of the image pretty easily. Okay, so for this one, I do like my blue tone. So I'm just going to turn that down a bit, and just so it's got a tint of blue to it. Okay, not overly blue, just a little bit of blue. Okay, so that part's all personal preference. Just you get your white balance sort of roughly where you want it and go from there, and we can always change it later. So from there, what I like to do is bring down my highlights. Now, we're dealing with very high dynamic range scenes, especially with lightning. So I tend to push these sliders more than I do with my normal landscape. So with my highlights, I'm going to bring that down by around about 70%. And that's going to bring back some detail in the really bright areas, while still retaining our lightning strike. Okay, so now we're starting to see a bit more of the rain in the sky. Same with the shadows. I like to push them again up to around about 70%. Just bring back some of these darker areas. And in saying that, I also like to lift my blacks. I'm going to bring my blacks up a bit as well. Again, I'm trying to get as much of that darkness back that we possibly can, and start to reveal some of these clouds that we have in the sky. Okay. Lens correction is always a must for me, so always apply my lens correction, remove chromatic aberration, especially when you're pushing your sliders. If you're pushing your highlights and shadows, remove chromatic aberration is a must. Okay, by moving these sliders a long way, you're going to introduce chromatic aberration. Okay, so always tick that box. And next thing we're going to do is just give it a bit of a crop. Okay, there's a lot happening up here to the top left that I'm not really happy with. I like this cloud down here, so I'm going to leave that in. And I'm looking at my yachts. So I've got a couple of yachts here just to the right, one here to the left, lightning pretty much in the middle. Okay, so, and I want to keep that cloud in the shot as well. So maybe just give that cloud a little bit more room. So somewhere around about there is looking nicer. Okay, now the fun part. Now let's bring out some of this detail in the clouds, and I'll show you the best way, what I think is the best way of doing it. So we're going to come over to our masking tools. We're going to grab a linear gradient, and we're just going to select our sky from around about the bolt down. So we select there, drag down, and then what that's going to do is just select the top part of our image. So it's selecting the sky. I don't want to affect the water, I don't want to affect the yachts, I want to leave them as they are. Okay, so now that we've selected the top part, if we come down to our effects tab, so the effects tab is the one we want, these three are going to bring out a lot of texture in your clouds. Okay, so the texture one will introduce fine grain texture. So the more you push that, the more you want to do some noise reduction, okay, because that's going to increase noise, make it look a bit crunchy. So that one I tend to take up just a little bit, okay, but for the sake of YouTube, I'm going to lift it a little bit more, just to give you ideas of exactly what these can do. The next one is the clarity, and the clarity is the one that's going to make the big difference. Okay, so now we're starting to see all these clouds in the sky. And finally the dehaze, by turning that up, again, it's going to make it look a lot more dramatic. And now we're starting to see all the rain, we're starting to see that cloud. It's bringing out a lot of detail in that darker area. Okay, so clarity, I don't like to take that too far. Just find that nice balance of the difference between overdone and underdone. Okay, and at any time, once we've created our mask, if we find that it is overdone, we can always dial it back. So that's with no adjustment, and then we can just slowly start to crank it up and go as far as you like. Okay, so it's personal preference how far you want to go. For me, normally I would be down around about here, around about 50%, but for the sake of YouTube compression, and just to show you exactly how much detail we can get out of that sky, I'm going to crank it up a little bit. Because it's made everything a bit darker, I might just increase my contrast, increase exposure as well, just to sort of balance out the darkness that these sliders create by brightening it up a little bit. Okay, and if you want to, you can even change the white balance. Okay, so if you might want to have like a bit more of a purple sky. Okay, for me, I'm going to leave it pretty much where it was. Okay, then we can take this one step further. So if we really want to push this and really bring out even more detail in that sky, if we create another mask, select it, just a brush tool, and what I'm going to do is just get my brush a bit smaller, and this time I'm just going to target the cloud. So I don't want to target the lightning too much, and maybe this cloud over here, and maybe up through there as well. So now I'm just painting it on where I can see some clouds. And now if we bring up our whites, okay, that's going to really emphasize the lightning and make our brights brighter. So I'm going to bring up my whites. I might even take down my blacks a little, okay, without going too far. Okay, and then again we can add even more clarity and more texture and more dehaze. So then it's just targeting those clouds. So you can see that we've overcooked it a little bit in this case, but that just sort of gives you an idea that we can keep pushing those sliders to try and get as much detail as we want out of that sky. Okay, you can see that we've started to oversaturate. By pushing these sliders, we do start to introduce saturation. So if you find that that adjustment is too much, just dial it back. Okay, and then it's going to look a little bit more, just trying to get it all to blend together. So somewhere around about there. So if we have a look at our before and our after, look at the difference in that sky. Okay, we've brought out a lot of texture, a lot of detail in that sky. So one thing to be mindful of, that if we do start to really take up those textures and clarities, you are going to introduce noise. Okay, so you can see in that image that is quite noisy. It's very crunchy. So two things we can do. Number one is go back to our masks and increase our noise reduction. So down under detail, so I have that mask selected, the linear gradient that we first did. And if I just reduce our noise reduction, okay, that's going to smooth out a bit of the crunchiness. Okay, and the same with the second mask that we did where we increased it even more. Again, if we just bring up our noise reduction under the detail tab, that should start to smooth out the sky and make it look a little bit nicer and not so crunchy. Okay, and then the final touches, it's all personal preference. That will get you started. Okay, that's how we can bring out lots of detail in that sky, and taking it from a very flat raw file and then bringing out some of that texture, bring out all that stormy weather. And then again, like if white balance, we can change it here. We can go for all different types of tones if we want. Okay, so you find what you like, find your personal preference, and have fun. Okay, storms, cloudy weather, lightning, those texture, the clarity and the dehaze, they work well. Okay, so give that a try and enjoy editing your images. Enjoy getting all of this detail that's in there. Okay, the raw files have all that information, and it's up to us to pull that information out. Okay, it's detail that's there. It's actually there. We've captured it. So we need to bring that detail out to really show off how the scene looked. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you did like it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Lots more coming soon. Hopefully next time I see you, I will be live. But until then, thank you and see you next time. Okay, so you'll notice in a lot of my lightning photos that I do use a blue tone. Okay, blue's just one of those colors that I've always liked. I don't know why in particular. What's that, Simone? A CD? You want some music to listen to? I tell you, you know what I've been listening to? One of the greatest albums of all time, Metallica's Ride the Lightning. Have a listen to this, you'll love it. There you go. Cheers. So anyway, blue tones. Yeah, I don't know why I like the blue tones, I just do.